We have this idea that systems are designed for a common purpose, that all the parts, whether it's departments in a company or agencies in a government, are all supposed to be working together towards some shared goal. But what if that idea is just fundamentally wrong? What if the design of the system itself is actually planting the seeds of its own internal conflict? Okay, so picture this. Department A is crushing it. They're hitting all their performance metrics, they're getting their bonuses. By every local measure you can think of, they are doing their job perfectly. At the same time, Department B, which relies on A's work, is falling behind. They just can't meet their goals, and so they're seen as the failure in this equation. But here's the twist. The overall project, the very thing both departments were created for, fails completely. Individual success has somehow led to collective failure. Now, that just feels wrong, irrational, right? But it points to some kind of hidden force at play, something buried deep in the structure of the system itself. While we're thinking about that, just hold this image in your mind. Two pumps, both drawing water from a single shared reservoir. So this kind of conflict, it doesn't just explode out of nowhere. It starts quietly with this perceived opposition of needs. Each part of the system just starts to see the other's goals as being incompatible with its own. At first, the conflict is what you might call latent. All the conditions for a fight are there, but the tension is still just simmering under the surface. It's like a quiet structural flaw, just waiting for something to set it off. And then it happens. Awareness. Both sides now clearly see the disagreement. They get that their interests aren't aligned, and what used to be this unspoken tension suddenly becomes a very conscious, very real conflict. And this is really where things start to take off. Because a conflict, once it's out in the open, it almost never stays still. It starts to grow, to intensify, feeding on itself in this kind of upward spiral. You see this shift in the behavior. It starts with what you could call soft tactics. Polite requests, maybe some emails trying to hash things out. But when those don't work, they get replaced by hard tactics. Demands start replacing requests. Threats start replacing discussions. Every interaction gets more and more confrontational. And now the system is running on a really dangerous feedback loop. Each side feels totally justified in matching, or, let's be honest, even one-upping the hostility from the other side. One aggressive move is met with an even more aggressive countermove. It becomes a perfect engine for escalation. Meanwhile, back at our reservoir, one of the operators is having a great day. Their pumps meter is spinning, hitting its daily quota. As far as they're concerned, they are a success. The cost to the bigger system? It's completely invisible to them. And what we're seeing isn't just a communication problem. It's not a clash of personalities. It is the result of a cold structural logic. A logic that explains not just what is happening, but the hidden why. So the first ingredient is an information imbalance. The person doing the work, the agent, knows a whole lot more about what they're doing than the person who set the goals. One sees the day-to-day process, the other only gets to see the final output. The second ingredient? Their interests just don't line up. One party wants what's best for the whole system, but the other, well, they're incentivized to maximize their own local numbers, their bonus, their quota, their department's reputation. So you put those two things together, knowing more and wanting something different, and the outcome is pretty much inevitable. The agent's actions will, quite rationally, start to drift away from the principal's goals. They're just going to do what's best for them, based on the information they have and the incentives they're given. And this is the result. To hit that quota, the pump operator runs the machine so hard that it starts pulling up silt and mud from the bottom of the reservoir. They're hitting their local target, sure, but in the process, they're contaminating the shared resource for everybody. This is so crucial to get. The agent isn't being malicious here. They're not some kind of villain. They are making a perfectly logical decision based on the structural trap that they have been put in. And now that we've seen its effects play out, we can finally put a name to this hidden mechanism. This is called the principal-agent problem. It's this fundamental conflict of interest that just pops up whenever one person is supposed to be acting on behalf of another. And the scary part is, this isn't about personal failure or someone having bad morals. It's almost a mathematical certainty. It's a conflict that is embedded right in the DNA of the relationship, in the very design of the system. And as this conflict goes on and on, the system doesn't just get worse, it actually starts to transform. it begins locking itself into a permanent state of being broken. Over time, any incentives that might have pushed people to cooperate, they just get wiped out. Trust is gone, any chance for a collaborative fix disappears. Eventually, the cost of even trying to fix the system becomes way higher than the cost of just continuing to fight inside it. The system finds a new balance, a new normal, but it's a deeply dysfunctional one. In this new state, cooperation isn't just hard, it's actually irrational. The most logical, self-interested choice for everyone involved is to just keep the conflict going. And so, the pump, pushed way past its limits, finally gives out. A gear snaps, and the reservoir, now totally choked with silt and drained of all its water, is completely dry. The system hasn't just failed, it has failed permanently. And this is the final, inescapable truth. The whole time, we thought we were watching a system fail, but we weren't. We were watching a system perfectly and flawlessly execute the logic of its own design. It was never failing. It was working exactly as it was built to.